What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. We're going to get into some of those momentarily. Also, our Thursday morning show, brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. That's near the Lansing-East Lansing border there on Saginaw. Unbelievable place, underrated patio, great place to hang out in the summer. I wind up there almost once a week with my softball teams or soccer teams. Outstanding meals. Most underrated pad thai in the world. Give it a shot. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I like how you make it sound like you have multiple teams. My softball and soccer teams. Like one, you coach the soccer team that's 6-year-olds and you don't have a child. So
No, I play on a soccer team on Monday nights. It's a
with
co-ed.
6-year-olds?
No.
Oh.
It's adults. We're all adults. We're like in our 30s, most of us.
Okay,
40s,
good.
me.
Had to make sure.
I'm the old guy on the team. But yeah, no, that's not what I meant. It's a co-ed adult league on Monday nights.
Is it competitive?
Yeah, it's really we have.
Is that fun? That's fun for you.
It's very fun for me.
It's fun for you. I mean, on your team, right? But when you play someone, is it fun for you to have someone that's
ultra competitive?
Yeah. It's just weird to me.
It depends. So 10 years ago, I loved it. Every once in a while in this league, you'll get somebody who doesn't belong in the league, some 20-year-old hotshot who should be in a higher level, right?
Eye paint and stirrups.
And 10 years ago, I would have said, all right, let's have a day. You know, like I'll body check you, I'll run with you, I'll make your day hell, and you're going to regret playing in this league. Now I say that, and they just blow by me.
Oh, you mean in basketball? Sorry, I thought you were talking about.
I'm talking about soccer.
Softball guy.
I'm talking about soccer.
Oh,
Soccer.
Jesus,
sorry.
I'm so sorry.
We're off. The.
I thought you were on softball.
We're not on
either
the same
way.
page.
Same boring thing, but yeah.
No, we have a little of that in softball, but in both of those sports, we're competitive. We have fun while we play, and we leave it right on the field, and then we go have a drink, and it's great. And we go to Front 43 and Cask & Company. It's a great place to go with a team right after a game. So,
good for you.
Yeah. So
I'm glad you enjoy it. I just can't do it. After our kickball team incident, no one on our
Whoa.
team was really.
What was the incident? I don't remember this.
It's not really an incident. It was just more of no one on our team, like our kickball team that we had, I think it was a year or two ago, and no one on our team really took it seriously. We were like a hodgepodge of people that just were put together, and other teams knew each other, whatever. And the one game we were playing someone, they came up to us and said, "We need your starting lineup. We want to see your lineup." And I'm like, for kickball? And they were saying that we were stepping over because there was some uncoordinated people on our team, and they couldn't really figure out some of it. But I mean, like they were stepping over the plate line, and they were it was co-ed for fun. Yes, there was a trophy, but who gives a shit? It just rubs me. I just don't want to be a part of that at 40-something years old. I don't really have that competitive spirit where I'm like, I want to play well. Like when I go golfing, I want to play well, but it's not like you have to be so competitive and into it all the time. It's just weird.
Is an alternate on the Four Horsemen kickball team at Verlinden Elementary School in 1989. Let me tell you, like that is not a real sport. And even though I loved it back then, like kickball guy is the worst guy. Because at least softball and soccer are like actual sports. Kickball's the sport, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I think it sounds like fun. I'd love to be on a team. I friends who have been on teams, it sounds like a good time. I'm just saying if that's the sport you choose to take too seriously, because that's a sport you go to and it's like, I really can't do the sports that athletes play, so I'm going to go to kickball.
Well, what about cornhole? Cornhole, I've seen the same kind of thing.
Same energy?
In a charity tournament.
At least that's on ESPN 8, you know?
The one I threw the cornhole bags at.
That's another good story presented by Midtown Brewing Company.
But I'm saying the guy was being an ass and showing up. They were up like 19-0. They were like professional cornhole players, and he's like throwing them bags behind his back. And anyway.
I think you handled that situation incredibly well.
Kind of. I did walk away, but yes, it was drinking Jason days, drinking Rube.
And Therese was not thrilled with you, if I recall.
She wasn't, but she stuck with me somehow. I figured that was going to burn it to the ground. Like I figured that it was a wrap when I walked back to the place that we were staying. I'm like, okay, this is a wrap.
Yeah.
But, hey, been married for a year, so hey.
It's good. You know, and the other thing I thought about you today, or yesterday, I should say, was this Jeremy Pruitt story at Tennessee. The former Tennessee football coach who's gotten like a 6-year show cause penalty for just a zillion violations when he was the head coach of Tennessee football. They got like an $8 million fine, which they'll just take out of the non-revenue sport budget at Tennessee. But part of his defense was that he carried large sums of money around in his car for a cash-driven lifestyle.
I heard that, yeah.
And I thought of you immediately. I was like, Jeremy Pruitt in the Rube. Like, Jason, this is Jason in 2009 with the duffel bag full of $43,000 and after an injury settlement.
Cash immediately. No, it just, I don't know why he thinks he can get away with saying something like that, because aren't most of these guys, what do you need that much cash?
Right.
$5K a week, unless you have a drug problem or something. To where, why would you need that when you're a coach at Tennessee where you're going to get everything anyway?
Well, maybe
right?
like you, he doesn't trust banks.
Am I the only one on not trusting the bank thing? I mean, listen, the bank I was a member of was kind of suspect, but
And in 2009, there was some stuff going on with banks still.
It
wasn't great. It wasn't
great timing on my part, but $5,000 a week. I mean, listen, I had hundreds on me at all times, and I couldn't find myself to do something like to spend $5,000 a week.
Yeah.
Unless I had a drug problem. And by the way, speaking of weddings, I want to congratulate Jordan, my friend Jordan, the Michigan fan Jordan, who contacts the show sometimes. And I think you like him.
Yeah.
He and his fiancée Sam, they got married yesterday. They are now husband and wife, and the festivities are this weekend, but they got married yesterday at the courthouse. Got married by the mayor of Berkeley.
Wow.
The mayor of Berkeley was there.
And he was the one who did it. Just happened to be there.
It was
they
actually
had
a she, if you could be a little woke today.
Oh, sorry.
On Thursday.
Sorry.
It was a she.
I woke it up. Sorry. My bad.
Women can be a mayor as well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I'll fix this in post, please.
But anyway, congratulations to those two. Sam really likes to hear her name on our show. So
okay.
Congrats, Sam.
Yeah. No, absolutely. What is your, and this is a marriage over-under years.
Ooh. I think he's, you know what, Jordan's growing up. So I think because he and I used to burn stuff to the ground. I think we've grown up together, even though I'm like 10 years older. So I think they're going to make it.
Yeah.
She's a great girl and great job and all that. I just, getting married is just kind of a weird thing. So, especially for him and I, who never thought it was going to happen. And then we get married a year apart.
Yeah, if Teresa's stuck with you,
Jesus.
anybody can stick with anybody.
Day to day.
All right. Well, we are going to dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions momentarily. But first, what we are betting this weekend, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, what are you betting this weekend?
Of course, the Open Championship. First round's going on right now. I think I might wait till after the second round. I know Jordan Spieth is up near the leaderboard. I think he's 2 under, but he also had 2 6s today, and he shot a 200 round, so he's kind of up and down. I want to sprinkle, but I think I'm going to wait, Graham, until after the round Friday. And, of course, our Detroit Tigers. Won some money yesterday on them, took the money line. But
a little dicey.
A little dicey. That is, I'm not having a great time gambling on the Tigers, but I felt good about it yesterday. I think even Harry tweeted out about taking the Tigers, which is even more suspect. But anyway, I think I might sprinkle a little bit on the Tigers. I think they're traveling, to San Diego. The Padres are tough. Might be looking at some overs on that. I don't know. But definitely going to sprinkle in some baseball.
Yeah, the Tigers, I was a little on them yesterday. It's game to game. It's pitching matchup. It's the vibe. It's how I feel after the day before. It's not a money making operation. It's just kind of fun to have some action.
If you feel the Tigers are going to win or the over, I don't know if I would take the run line for the opposing team just because it's not fun, and the Tigers can work some things out. It's just they're a really bizarre team. I wouldn't recommend game in, game out, but if you have a gut feel, want to sprinkle.
I'm with you.
Tigers are brutal.
I'm not betting the golf yet. I might. The thing about the golf at the British Open is the early starts often I forget ahead of time, don't get to it.
5 hours, right?
Yeah, it's just what I was, last week. And it's a great time difference, and it helps me not lose money on golf, which I do in every.
Have you been to Liverpool?
Not as an adult. I've been to Liverpool as a child.
Nice.
I'd like to go, though, and go to a soccer game in
It looks
Anfield.
nice there. I was watching this morning, so.
Yeah, no, it's
maybe one day.
And they don't tend to play these golf tournaments at places that look like shit. This isn't
because us Americans just think that's what it all looks like over there.
That's true.
Like, oh, it's just hills and brown grass.
So my money this weekend is on the Women's World Cup, naturally. And I did win a parlay, I did win an underdog bet on a Champions League team yesterday that was just a flyer. Like the Champions League qualification stuff with like the littlest clubs in Latvia and other things are happening now on Paramount Plus. You can watch them during the middle of the day. And I was watching a game early, and I don't know, I just took a flyer, and I wouldn't tweet that out because it was total luck that it went my way. I don't think I actually deserved it. But I do like Colombia versus South Korea. This is Monday, 10 p.m., and it is over 2.5 goals. And I like Portugal, win or draw, plus 180 against the Netherlands, and that is Sunday at 3:30 a.m. If you're not doing anything, it's Sunday at 3:30 a.m. I also like. I mean, there's some sprinkles you can still get on, like, to win. I like France as kind of France to the semifinals, France to win. I like that side of the draw that doesn't have to deal with sort of some of the tougher teams. But those are the two games I'm sort of in on early. And if you're wondering how much confidence I have, I already lost my first bet. Had Norway against New Zealand last night, and it didn't go my way. So overnight. So I don't know what I actually know on this. I just want to have some action on the Women's World Cup. Done a little research, listened to some podcasts, done some reading, and that's what I have.
You listen to podcasts about the Women's World Cup for gambling advice?
I do, yes. Right. Yeah, that's where I'm. That's where my life is.
So these games are all going to be at like 3:30 in the morning.
The women, the U.S. women's, some are at like 9 p.m., some are middle of the night, some are 6 a.m., some are 3:30 a.m. It's New Zealand, Australia. It's tough because it's the other side of the world. Right. But anyway, that is what we're betting this weekend, presented by Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, which has the Women's World Cup game. So if you download the app, you want to bet along, get into some Women's World Cup soccer with me, or just bet the baseball or golf. They've got that as well. All right, let's dig into these groovy donut Twitter questions.
All right, Gavin Haas, I guess, is up first. Eric Schultz taking time off because he's got kids now.
It's kind of a bullshit excuse, but we'll deal with it.
Come on, man. Gavin Haas, what are the odds that we see a 2016-esque season out of this year's MSU football team? Is that the worst-case scenario?
It's up there. I mean, you can think of worst-case scenarios.
I don't know if I want to.
Right. They're pretty disastrous.
Yeah.
The thing about 2016 that will forever be probably different than any other season that we witnessed with Michigan State football is that it just came out of nowhere, and nobody expected it. And nobody expected it into the season. Like, D'Antonio didn't expect it. D'Antonio let them do that. You remember that, like, Green and White Days or whatever it was called, the BTN Hard Knocks version sort of deal, the show in the preseason camp. And he had this statement where he said, these guys have kind of earned it. And then they beat Notre Dame, and it looked like, wait a sec, is this like a national championship team? And Notre Dame wound up stinking that year too, went like 4-8. The whole thing fell apart out of just nobody saw that coming. And so if this year went poorly, people would at least not be stunned to that degree. And there were a lot of, but that year was partly quarterback play. Like, if they had a good quarterback that year, they would have at least gone 6-6. So you could have things like that happen. And I do think that sort of year is the worst case scenario.
Next one from Gavin for Graham. How do you find motivation to write a story when you're stuck or don't feel like writing? This question's for Carlos Monterez.
You just write. You just do. It happens a lot. Like,
but is there something you do if you are in a rut? You put on one of your musicals or some shit? Or, I mean, is there do you pump yourself up?
I usually walk to the refrigerator, find some calories, make my 7th cup of coffee for the day, go on a walk. Nothing that actually helps me get there. What helps me actually do it is just doing it. And the thing, writing usually, it's rarely do I not feel like writing. The aspect of the job I hate is the transcribing. Like, you do like an hour-long interview and you got to go through it. I hate that.
I thought you were about to say the travel.
No, that's
We're
good.
We're going to kill you.
No, I'm not going to say that. And I just try to do that before I go to bed. So if I don't wake up with like an hour of tape to go through, even with transcription software, like, if you do the thing you don't want to do right before bed and then wake up to a fresh slate and you can just write, it usually makes the day better.
Next one from Gavin. For Jason, Seeing as you've lived a more adventurous life than Graham, this isn't a dig, Graham and Nico. What are your 3 greatest life advice tips?
Well, I want these. Let me write these down.
Oh, man. Life advice tips. Never borrow money from anyone. We'll say that. Drink in moderation. Do things in moderation, and only certain times do them out of moderation.
Very much a Ben Franklin take. I like it.
I don't know. Sorry. Did I steal that from Ben Franklin? I wasn't ready for these.
Temperance was, yeah.
I got to say, just be nice to people. Treat people how you want to be treated. That's all. That's pretty much my motto. Is like, if you come at me with kind energy, I come at you with kind energy. Like, we had a neighbor like really pissed off about a tree falling in her yard from our yard, and she came over and started yelling, and I just started yelling back at her because I gave her the energy that she was giving me. So those would be my 3 tips. I didn't see that question beforehand. I would have put some thought in.
Well, those are actually probably better that way because those are really wise. No, these are really wise. That's great advice. Don't borrow money.
Yes.
Do things in moderation.
Well, I would say
be nice to people.
You can borrow money, but I would say outside, don't do it with family members. It never works out, or friends. It just never works out. Even if you know that they're going to pay you back and they're good for it, and sometimes you do those things in a small form. I've seen it ravage families and stuff like that. It's not fun. It's
not the same as borrowing money on a home loan. That's different kind of.
Sure. Yes. Matt C. next. Does anyone love underdogs more than Graham? A column on Trey Holloman? LOL.
Well, wait a sec. So
you can't win. Huh?
Based on the readership of this column, people are interested in Trey Holloman. I'm interested in Trey Holloman because I think, and I do like underdogs, but I also like people who are interesting to me. And I often think if I'm interested, then I can write it interestingly, and I think other people are interested. And so like the piece I wrote on Jackson Kohler, because I do think he's interesting. He was somebody that was a little more, I think, had a tough first year. I think Trey Holloman is a guy who's sort of viewed as the odd man out and been replaced. And I find that aspect of things interesting and having a conversation about where he is. So I just think that makes him interesting, and I want to write about interesting people. And to me, I could write the latest Cohen Carr dunks column. Blah. Nothing wrong on Cohen Carr.
What was that noise?
I'm just saying, like, if that's where your creativity is, like, we're going to see Cohen Carr soon enough. And I actually did get some stuff from Izzo the other day on Cohen Carr that I think is promising. He talked about who he was in terms of his physical strength and ability on the glass and things that I think are more important than dunking.
But it's not just the dunking. It's just the aspect of having a guy that can hammer it down and guys are scared to jump with. It's nice to have that guy.
Well, it's nice
to be between the legs thing. It's all awesome. But I'm saying it's nice to have that guy. Like Gabe Brown was trying to be that guy where he could just run up and just hammer down on someone. I just think Cohen Carr can do it all the time.
And it's nice to have a guy who can electrify a crowd at home with a run or do something. I mean, Brandon Dawson had that to some degree, not the same type of dunker, but even on the road at Purdue, he was the Purdue killer. And he used to go just some of his breakaway dunks and the authority in which but on the Trey Holloman thing, I do think he's an interesting person. I mean, you're talking about a 4-star recruit who was a backup point guard for most of the year and had a good role as a freshman. And then they bring in a guy like Jeremy Fears, and everybody comes back, and, like, you get squeezed a little bit, and yet, it doesn't mean he goes away and he chooses to stay, and I think a lot of people thought he would go. So I find those sort of stories interesting and more interesting than, talking to A.J. Hoggard again about his three-point shot or what he's going to do this year. I did get a great quote that I'm going to save from Izzo about Hoggard the other day when I was talking to him about this for the story I did on him and Mel Tucker being bunkmates on the USS Carl Vinson last week. And I don't want to get into it because I do want to save it. But
don't coach my team.
It was
what a tease.
Yeah, you'll get it like next winter. You'll totally forget about it, and then I'll deliver.
You'll have to remind us.
Yeah, I will.
Matt C. With this one, why will MSU win 8+ games? I'm not living in a world where 6-6 is an improvement.
Well, the bowl game, I think, will feel like an improvement. But the reason MSU will win 8+ games is the same reason they could win 4 games. We don't know what we don't know. And they might actually be like there's so much that there's so much unknown at so many positions that they could actually be more fine than we realize at certain places. Like I do think they've got enough running backs. Somebody's going to be good. They should be fine there.
Yeah, but if you go 6-6, you're going to a shit bowl game. Is that really exciting for fans?
No, it's not exciting, but
I don't think it is.
It's an improvement over not making a bowl game.
I think if you go 5-7, 6-6, it's the same to me. Like just because you go to a bowl game now where there's 8,000 bowl games, I just don't. It's not as exciting.
And I also think 6-6 can look different depending on who you beat. You go 6-6 with a win over Michigan, and the whole season feels a little different. Or you go 6-6, and late in the year, after struggles, you're playing well, and it feels like you found a quarterback.
But I understand what you're saying, but is that a mentality to have? It's like, oh, we went 6-6, but we beat Michigan.
That's not the goal, but if you're talking about trajectory for the program, if you're talking about the way you feel about this team in early December of next year, if they beat Michigan or give Ohio State a great game and then beat Penn State at Ford Field, and all of a sudden it's like if they say the season's not going that well, and then they go down to Columbus on November 11th, I think it is, and on national TV at night, make that not the worst game in the world. Like they're in the game, and it's like, wait, is this team kind of finding itself? And then on the last game of the year, needing to win to get a bowl game, they beat like a 10-win Penn State team at Ford Field. That's going to feel different than a different type of 6-6 season. So they can be there. I mean, what you want out of this year. Yeah, you want a year where there's some momentum and you'd love, for them to overachieve or get 8 wins, but you want to feel like the program is going somewhere. That is what I think is most important, and you can feel like that at 6-6 if with the right components.
Next one from Matt C. Why are sports writers all out of shape? Do they not let you work out on the road? That's a gift card right there, man.
Yeah. So I will say this. The road actually helps because they have gyms and stuff on the road. Like I usually get a workout in on the road.
Do you?
You
never tweet out about it.
It's the hours, partly. I mean, some of it just the people, and lots of,
But you really can't pin it on the hours because there's other guys where they deal with the hours. They just have the mentality like I need to work out in the morning.
Well, and here's the problem though. When I say the hours, it's the late night hours that take away that morning. It's the if I'm on the road, like I'll give you an example. When I'm on the road at Ohio State this year for a night game, I will go to bed at 8 a.m. for 4 hours and then check out and go home. And then you lose. Sometimes you stay up all night working, get on a plane to go home, and you sort of lose the next day. It's also at home. Like you come home from Moneyball even, and you write a column, and then you're up till 3 a.m. And when you're procrastinating or you're writing, you go to the fridge late and you eat because you're up late. It's the lifestyle now. I'm not built for this. If I have a kid and they have the same issues with food that I have, I will forbid them from being a sports writer. I need to work a shift. I need to leave my work when I go home. I would be in much better shape if I didn't have work with me all the time.
I think if your kid watches you eat when they're younger, they'll realize like that's not for them.
No, I don't want to be that guy. Right. Totally.
You have to stress it as much early. They can just see it.
Yeah. So
Tyrone.
I think there's some of that though. It's the it's the late night. It's the weird hours that some days you're up at 6, some days you're working till 6, and
some people are just built different where they can still mentally go do some shit like that.
Yeah.
Because like you said, with a travel day, it's like, oh man, you get back from the airport, the metro, and got to drive back.
And I've started doing things to the detriment of the job a little bit. As I get older, I'd rather get up at 4 a.m. right until 9 a.m. And you may not get that column posted till 10 a.m. And that's not ideal, but it's better sometimes. And I'm not talking about off a game. Off a game, I'm always going to stay up all night and write. But I'm just saying I'd rather get up at 4 a.m. with coffee than be up all night eating leftover pizza.
But you could get a 20 to 25-minute workout in your hotel room. I mean, it's not going to be a great one, but you could get the blood flowing, heart rate going in the hotel.
You could.
If you wanted to.
Yeah.
Matt Venny next. In terms of Big Ten credibility, why doesn't Northwestern get the same heat as Rutgers? At least Rutgers provides an expanded media market and recruiting area. Northwestern has never seriously invested in its athletic department, and the students and alums are smug and get outdone by grads of smaller schools.
I do appreciate. Look, I have no love for Northwestern journalism students who are a little hoity-toity.
Fire up the shot glass.
Yeah, my wife loves them, and she's doing
a drinking game.
She's doing a project with them through her company at Crane. But she was just there yesterday. But
how many times has Elizabeth heard that you would run circles around? Like, I can't imagine how many times. If she hears, like, if you tweet it out constantly, she has to hear it, right?
The worst thing is, not only do I tell the story every time, but then I also say to her, that's a story worth telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. And I'm like, yeah, you got to have the American Stout. It's an unbelievable place for lunch, for a date night. She hears that every single time, and I'm not lying. But no,
T hears this.
Peacock.
I just walk around going, peacock.
Right. So, to answer the question, though, in terms of Northwestern as a Big Ten, first of all, it's a long-term staple of the Big Ten. It's in a market that I think a lot of Big Ten schools like having. Like, a big reason that Mark Hollis, when he was Michigan State athletic director, wanted Michigan State to be in the Big Ten West was to every other year have a football game at Northwestern. And Northwestern wasn't bad at that point. It was just your alumni are there. You know, that's a trip you want to be making. And they have more recently put a lot of money into facilities. They've been better than some places. And it's in terms of academics and reputation, it gives you a Stanford. It gives you that with what's a better alumni market than what Stanford has in Palo Alto and even the Bay Area. So I think it's you would never want to. Northwestern doesn't deserve heat for the Big Ten. You want different types of schools in the Big Ten. And Northwestern, to me, is a fit, even more so than Vandy and the SEC or whatnot.
Plus size softball dad next. July question for the Rube. Was there a specific moment that led you to stop drinking? I'll be 12 years sober in October. Love hearing others' sobriety stories. Well, congrats, plus size softball dad. 12 years. That's amazing. I would say yes and no. I mean, the specific moment was going into the hospital during COVID and taking up a bed where someone that had COVID could have done it. And it was just to be honest, I just had to make a choice. It was like, do I want to live and be with Treese or not? So it wasn't as probably hard as some other people because I had been drinking for so long. It got out of hand. It was a wet blanket. It wasn't fun anymore. It was just maintaining a buzz so I didn't go through like DTs or anything crazy like that. And there's not really a number you can call and like, can I check in and you can clean me out and I can walk out feeling healthy. Unfortunately, you have to go to a hospital for that, and I did. And life has been unbelievable since. So I wish I could have quit drinking a lot sooner, but I didn't. And so, but congrats, plus size.
Absolutely.
Ryan Allen next. Who's the Moneyball MVP so far from what you've seen and heard? Who's the Moneyball most improved Spartan so far?
So I've only been twice.
Kohler then?
I mean, he had the 53-point night, but I didn't see it. I
didn't see that.
Trey Holloman has more three-pointers than anybody. And the other thing that you have to remember with these guys is on certain days, they've just, like a couple hours earlier, left a full practice at Michigan State, sometimes like a heavy lift. And you can see it in their legs. The other night at the beginning, they looked like a team, and I knew they had practiced that day at 1 o'clock. That's just been through a pretty serious workout, and I don't know if they lifted afterwards or what, but then they show up, and it's like they got to put on a show, and you can see it sometimes in their legs. It's like it takes them a minute to get going. The energy in the second game the other night was really good, and same with the third game, but it took a while in that first game. So I don't know who the MVP of the Moneyball is thus far. I mean,
pure entertainment alone, it's got to be Cohen Carr.
Entertainment, and you know what? That's a good point. Moneyball is about entertainment mostly, and so it has to be Cohen Carr because he has been the guy. He is the guy more people go to see, I think, than anybody else at Moneyball. So yeah, great point. And most improved Spartan, I could say Kohler or any of those guys, but you just don't know at that level. There are guys who look like they've taken a step. That sophomore group. Holloman looks like a guy who's having fun. He's confident. He didn't look like that last summer. you watch a guy like Carson Cooper, and he looks confident, but he looked pretty good last summer. Kohler looks, all that stuff. But again, how does that translate into real basketball? And we don't actually know that yet.
Clocked on Spartans next. If we downplay guys having huge games at Moneyball because Moneyball doesn't matter, should we be concerned about the centers that struggle to score 15 to 20?
No, because certain games lend themselves more to it. Like, it's not a big man's league. Sometimes you get a 53-point game and it's matchup dependent, or they're giving them the ball. But there are games I've watched where you get a guard who's kind of a ball hog, or you get just a guard dominated game, and the big men are throwing down some alley-oops here and there, but they never see the ball. And so I wouldn't put too much into that.
There is one basketball. It's tough if a guy's going for 52. What are you supposed to? Right? How many points are scored in those games? Yeah,
I do think next year we do have to seriously look at whether a Couch in the Rube Moneyball team works. Maybe.
What are you talking about? I thought it was a done deal.
Oh, yeah.
We have the jersey. We have the whole thing.
Maybe bring Groovy Donuts in on it. They could have donuts at halftime instead of oranges. It would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And by the way, this week, this is a fantastic donut. I've had it before there. Pineapple upside down cake donuts available starting tomorrow, Friday, through Sunday. And go to groovydonuts.com to place your order. To swing on by on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamson. It is I tweeted it out from the Couch in the Rube account. It is a fantastic donut. I've had it. They also have, of course, gluten-free and vegan options available as well. groovydonuts.com to place your orders.
Travis Maynard next. Is it fair to say with near absolute certainty that MSU Hoops should have a top 3 bench this year in all of college ball?
No, it's not with absolute certainty, because just because we know the names and just because there are a lot of dudes, a bench doesn't need to be 11 deep. What it needs to be is productive. There might be, if you have 8 guys and 3 off the bench who play their roles well, who give you scoring punch, who rebound, do whatever it is, that can be a better bench than a group that you're still trying to find the right connections with. And in terms of options, in terms of potential, in terms of depth, it should be up there for sure. But finding the group that works and not overplaying guys because it feels like you got to play too many guys, there's a lot of things that can make this a less effective bench than it looks like.
Cracker Sofa next. Do you think Izzo scheduled Baylor at Little Caesars Arena instead of Breslin to prep the team with a high major opponent at a future Sweet 16 Elite 8 venue? Can't imagine that a home-and-home wasn't on the table.
Yeah, I haven't looked into this a ton yet. I've seen the reports on it. I'm sure it's happening. Rothstein doesn't usually get these wrong. I was actually, if I'd seen the report, I talked to Izzo just before that, I would have asked about it. And I don't know if a home-and-home was on the table, and I don't know if a home-and-home still isn't. Like, I wouldn't be stunned if Michigan State's playing in Dallas or someplace like that the next year, and they're just doing 2 pro venues. I would prefer this sort of game be on a campus site. You bring in Baylor, you'd like that to be a home game. Michigan State does have Butler at home at least this year. The schedule's not complete yet, and they're trying to do more at Little Caesars. I know Oakland's actually in at Breslin as well this year.
Next one from Cracker Sofa. Would you rather give up all of Mark D'Antonio's Big Ten championships? That means no Rose Bowl, no Cotton Bowl, no college football playoff, and no iconic win against Ohio State and drive against Iowa for the second national championship for Tom Izzo? Or would you rather give up all of Tom Izzo's Final Fours, still keep all the Big Ten titles for one football national championship for Mark D'Antonio?
This is a good question.
No, it's not. It's not fun.
You have to
pick one.
It makes you think.
Yeah, I know.
And what you'd rather have. What would you rather have there? Would you rather have a second national title for Izzo and lose everything that's really happened in football, or would you rather have that football national title and lose most of what MSU's gotten in?
I would take the second natty for Izzo. I just think to sustain, to keep that rolling. If you win a national championship at football and then it stops, then it ends, because how many times has basketball saved a football season. So I would still want to have that in our back pocket and hope for something with Tucker, I guess.
I would. The argument for the other one would be this, is that you're still able to keep Izzo's Big Ten championships, right? So it would be a weird thing where they hadn't actually been to a Final Four. It was sort of Purdue-like in some ways, right? But you're still a really renowned program that won a lot. And what a national championship in football would do for Michigan State in terms of how it was perceived as a program, in terms of just cash. I mean, it would resonate for a long time in terms of possibilities. And I think how the fan base would. I think more people would choose the football one because again, football's cool.
Yeah. All right. Last one from Cracker Sofa. Who would you rather have fill the role of best man at a wedding, Tom Izzo or Mel Tucker?
Who's your best man?
Oh, it's Izzo. Easy.
Really? I don't know.
Legend. Come on. Everywhere he goes, I mean, people love Tom Izzo. I'm not saying people don't love Mel Tucker. I'm just saying if I had a pick.
But keep in mind,
he's got to wear the gold jacket.
Keep in mind the role of the best man and what they have to get done for you.
Yeah.
And doing things that are cool.
But I'm an old guy now, so I don't really care about that. Like, I know if I were younger, it would be Mel Tucker. I'm older, and I don't really care about all the glitz and being in a 3-wheel vehicle or some shit. So.
I also don't want to be upstaged too much.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay.
I would rather have Izzo walk around and get all the attention and me just dance with my wife or something. I don't really care.
I think I choose Tucker.
All right. Jay Riemenschneider. You going to tell Izzo that? Hope he hears about that. Jay Riemenschneider, would you rather get 16 mid to high 4-star recruits and no 5-stars, or 10 high 4-star recruits and 1 5-star ranked in the top 10? Quantity or quality? Yeah,
and it's not just the losing 6 4-stars; it's the level of 4-stars. These are higher ranked 4-stars. It's a good question because it would depend on the 5-star. A lot of 5-stars don't pan out, but if you and overall, I would want 16 mid to high 4-star recruits. I think I'd want to have the more quality, hoping that there were guys in there that were as good as the 5-stars. You had more chances for that. There are certain types of 5-stars that are just, program maker type dudes. The thing is, look at the last guy who changed the Michigan State football season drastically, and it's Kenneth Walker, and he wasn't rated that high. He's a 5-star. There are no 5-stars in the country better than Kenneth Walker. So I would go with the 4-star recruits and hope that there was actually a 5-star in there. I would go with more.
I think, though, but 10 high 4-star recruits, I mean, what if that 5-star in the top 10 is a quarterback? I mean, that can change your program,
or
too.
Charles Rogers or T.J. Duckett. Yep. No, right. You're right. You can have a player that just makes you different, and that's what you need. You need difference makers. And with Mel Tucker, it would be interesting to ask Mel Tucker this question because he'd probably sign up for either. But, he said you need 3 to 4 true difference makers on both sides of the ball to get where you want to go. And you're talking NFL level, top few round pick difference makers on both sides of the ball. And you're more likely, I think, to get there, though, with the 16 than you are with the 10. But probably either would do the trick.
Next one from Jay. MSU made Izzo who he is, and Izzo turned MSU basketball into the program it is. Tucker and Juwan are definitely not bigger than their programs, and as well known as Harbaugh is, he is nowhere near bigger than Michigan football. But is Izzo now bigger than MSU basketball?
Yes. I mean, Izzo has been bigger than – because Izzo is MSU basketball in a lot of ways nationally. I mean, here people have fond memories of other things. There was Magic. Obviously, Heathcote had a good run. But when Izzo is done – the questions about what Michigan State basketball will be and whether it sustains itself as an elite program or a real factor nationally will be prevalent. I mean, it will be fair. I think Izzo has been MSU basketball. I don't want to say he's bigger than, but he is the program in a lot of ways to people inside the community and region and outside.
What's an example of him being bigger though than the pro? I just think he is the program. Right.
Well, that makes you bigger, I think.
So bigger meaning like people just want to talk to Tom Izzo about Tom Izzo things and not basketball then? Is that bigger than the –
Well, so I'll give you an example. If Duke shows up at a tournament, people want to see Duke. They want to be around Duke. They don't care about John Shire. if Izzo shows up, people MSU's there, that's cool, but Izzo's there. Izzo's a big deal.
Gotcha.
For example, he was just on this ship with Mel Tucker and Jake Boss and Adam Nightingale and some coaches. Jeff Blasha was there, the USS Carl Vinson. And one of the things that Jake Boss talked about is just how many sailors and people, everybody came up to Izzo. Everybody wanted a photo. I mean, these are, people from all walks of life all over the world. They all know Izzo. And I'm not sure if MSU basketball came to play on a ship or came to do something, without Izzo, if it would have anywhere near the same effect.
Next one from Jay Jason. Would you rather the Lions win the division but lose their first playoff game, or get in as a wild card and win that first playoff game and lose the second one?
You want the playoff win, right?
I do, but I could see a vote for the division win, meaning when's the last time they won the division?
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the turning point where we run the division. But yeah, you got to get in with a wild card, and I would pick that one to answer your question.
Well, and partly because it's how you would feel going into the offseason. If they had won the division, you feel good, but then they lose a playoff game. It's like they still haven't done that. Are they ever going to do that?
And a wild card isn't – I mean, the NFL season, and it's a long one, and injuries, you just never know. So wild card, it doesn't mean that you necessarily just squeaked back in. You might have had to deal with injuries or –
Right, and depending on the division. Now, this is a year where, losing – the division seems like it's there for the taking. But there are times where being the second best team in the division is there's no shame in that. And to me, getting a playoff win, I'm with you.
Next one from Jay. Did you wake up early or stay up late for golf and soccer?
I watched the MLS All-Star game versus Arsenal, was
Messi in that?
No, he starts coming up here.
Does it interest you when they do stories about him going to the grocery store or getting gas and shit? I mean, I know he's popular, but man, can't the guy just...
Well, no, I think what's interesting about that story is that nobody recognized him for a while. I mean, that's what I think.
I saw people taking selfies with him, though.
Eventually, but if you're a British soccer star and you want to live in anonymity, this is the place they should sell.
Miami,
that. Yeah. A lot of places
people
in this
everywhere,
country.
though. And I think when they catch wind of that he's in town, and by the way, Messi's worth $80 bajillion. Like, you can't just send someone to the store for you. Like, that would be the greatest thing about being rich is you can just go, I need these things. Go get them for me.
We're not even rich, and we use shoppers to be shopping.
They bring it right
delivered.
to the car.
Yeah. I mean, we even have that disabled war veteran bringing that one time to the house.
That you shunned.
I didn't shun her. I was embarrassed that she had a peg leg and that she was in the rain bringing up the groceries, and we were like these two fat cats sitting waiting to be served. I hated that feeling.
I know, but people want to be treated normal, like when they have that done. They don't want to be like, oh,
I'm aware.
We're never going to order again.
I didn't handle it well. I didn't say I handled it well.
So she got fired.
She didn't get fired.
You guys.
We just started picking up our groceries after that.
To Youper next. I outsourced my question to AI, and this is what it came up with. What's a good question to ask Graham Couch that would prompt him to laugh and think? Here's Chat GPT. From sideline spectator to hot seat expert, Graham Couch's most hilarious mishap reporting live at a game. Care to share the inside scoop?
Yeah.
This is interesting because when I was messing around with AI, I used you. Like I said, write a Graham Couch column, and it was pretty fucking accurate.
Was it? Really?
It was about Mel Tucker, yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, I was going to send it to you, but then I tried copying it and pasting it. That's where my skill ends. But yeah, it was pretty wild.
Maybe we'll get replaced. It's not
Dude,
great.
Throw a Chat GPT one, like a column in before the football season. Just see
what happens.
Knows.
Yeah. To answer the question, it is a good question. The couple, both I would say happened in Freeport, Illinois. One when I was covering like dirt track auto racing on Saturday nights, and I think I've told this story before. There was a guy, and you go down after it on this fierce deadline. It was the tightest deadline we had for anything. They would end at like 10:30. You had to have your story filed like 20 minutes later. It was tough. And you'd go down in the pits trying to find drivers you had to talk to, and you didn't know what any of them looked like. And there was this guy named Bob Salagi who always pretended to be other drivers. So I'd go in asking like, hey, asking around, like, you know where Jeff Larson is? And he would say, I'm Jeff Larson. And eventually you learned it's fucking Bob Salagi. Don't talk to him. But every one of us, including every intern we later sent and stuff, would do one story that had Bob Salagi quotes. It wasn't Bob Salagi. More embarrassing, though, in Freeport in 2004, I'm on the sideline where I like to be covering a high school football game. I have a clipboard, notepad, keeping track of every single play. It rained all day, so it's a little slick. And this guy, Myron Collins, 17-yard sweep run to the right. I'm following it. And I step on a drainage ditch that's a little slick. And it was like one of those cartoons where you're trying to keep your balance and you just can't do it, but you're flailing for what felt like 2 minutes, but probably was like 3 seconds. And I could feel the crowd notice it. There's like 2,000 people there. They could see me flailing. They could see that I was about to go down, and then I did, just flat on my back in the mud. And
did anyone laugh?
the whole crowd was like, ooh, like just like 2,000. Yeah, I was very aware, and then just soaked in mud. I had to cover the rest of the game, and that.
What year was this?
2004. 2004.
See, now if it happened like last year, how hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I've had
Would
other
have cameras.
I've had other little mishaps, but that just stood out. That is a story almost worth telling, presented by our friends Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. Looking for a place for brunch this weekend, just a beer after work, a great date night in the summer. Midtown Brewing Company. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check them out.
Steve, up next. Graham, as the resident tennis player and expert, what are the pros doing requesting 3 balls in hand prior to serve, then discarding 2 balls? Why? Did you do this as a high-profile player?
Yes and no. I don't know what they're doing. It's weird. When you were playing, I was never a real high-profile player, but when you're playing like a high school tennis match or a match, you have you get a fresh can of balls and you have 3, and so sometimes you discard 1 or you keep, depending on your pockets, you'd have 2 in pocket. I never liked having a second ball in my hand as I was tossing it, but that's like admitting you're not going to make your first serve. But I don't know what they're doing. It's weird. The balls aren't that different, and it just feels like done for effect to give it back to make the ball girls and ball boys work.
That was the best part of Wimbledon, watching the ball boys and ball girls have to sit there and they're so proper and they have to run. It's like I can't believe they can talk kids into acting like that in 2023.
What's funny,
no matter where it is.
When I was at Wimbledon, I'm watching this a little bit because you just see these kids running around. They have all these very, very formal ways of communicating and rolling balls to each other. And there's also a supervisor of each that handles certain things that's on the court sitting in a chair. And at I was watching a juniors match between 2 of the top juniors in the world at one point, and it's clear they don't put the top ball boys and top ball girls on the juniors matches. And I could just see this one supervisor guy. He was talking to the umpire, just shaking his head about one of the ball boys. I felt really bad about.
Sports Guy 1919 next. Going to Vegas on a Friday through Monday in September, the Washington game weekend, and thinking about getting a cabana at Circa Sportsbook either Saturday or Sunday. What day would you do it, and is it worth it to get a cabana or just pay for general admission? It's $1,000, $1K for cabana split between 6 people or so.
I mean, I've never done a cabana. Have you done a cabana?
I have not.
I haven't seen what they look like even there at Sportsbooks.
There was only 2 of us for our last trip, so it's not like we're going to split a 1K
right
cabana. I don't know what you get with that. Does it come with bottle service where you still got to pay for that? I mean, because if you break it down, it's what, 200 and something per person, which isn't crazy. But it's I don't like sitting outside all day long.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I guess you have to think about the experience. I wouldn't worry about the money as much as to me, if you don't go to Vegas that often, or if you don't go to whatever you don't do that often, it's often worth paying for the experience if you can do it. So if it seems like a really cool experience, do it. I think being at a sports book and walking up to the counter is fun. You can do that at Firekeepers right down the road in Battle Creek. It's a cool experience. But if the cabana seems I wouldn't worry about the money side of it. You're not going to Vegas to make money anyway. You may think you are, and occasionally you get lucky.
Yeah, don't be a bummer, man.
Sorry.
Give people some hope.
Sorry, I didn't.
That's the best part about Vegas is the hope on the way there.
Yeah.
Big dreams.
I just love sitting at a sports book and being around like Caesars or that's the kind of the biggest fanciest. Would you do
I would do Saturday because I love NFL football Sundays, and I wouldn't want to be in a cabana all day long. And here's the thing with the cabana. I mean, it's $1,000, right? But that's not it. That's not the end. If you want to order drinks,
it must
or have
come
food,
with stuff.
you got
special wait staff, things like that. There might be some.
I mean, wait staff, but you still have to pay. So
Sure.
you're gonna, maybe it's a $500 day for you, maybe, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends what it.
I'd rather gamble on stuff with that money and then sit in a sports book. I just like being a degenerate sitting in a sports book.
Yeah, and length of time would matter because there are more college football games, and there are all sorts of times and weird things to gamble. If I'm for a gambling day, I'd rather have college football.
Nick Palmer next. Do the Tigers finally have hope?
I think so, and I think that's why people get frustrated with them. I think they can actually see like the makings of an interior of a lineup, with some of those guys, and like they're not good yet, but you like they don't feel hopeless.
But
anymore.
It's a bummer watching and knowing Javi Baez is not going anywhere. I know he hit a home run last night, but it's like, so now what? Now we just forget everything because he hit last night. I mean, it's just the team is annoying, is what it is. I want to root for them, but it's also sometimes they make it so hard because they play so bad.
I would consider cutting Javi Baez at the end of this year. I know you're eating a lot of money. But
I'm with you.
I would do it because I don't think he helps you. I think you have to look at it. You are paying to improve your team by losing him.
Yeah. Nick, with this one, what would you do if you won the lottery?
I don't know, duffel bag, Jeep. What are you doing, Jason?
Be a little bit bigger duffel bag. Unfortunately, didn't win the Powerball last night. I would call a realtor and buy a house in San Diego and never come back. That's like my ultimate dream place to live is San Diego. I love that weather.
It's a good place. You don't.
But other
sweat
than
too
that,
much.
I don't know. I would probably, if I won that thing last night, I would be dead.
How much was it last night?
It's $1 billion.
Oh, it's $1 billion?
Yeah.
Oh, did anybody win it? Do we know yet?
Well, yeah, someone in L.A.
Yeah,
I guess that's what Treese told me this morning.
Counting on that.
And like here's the thing. Like I think 5 or 6 people won the $1 million. Now you win the $1 million. That's because you've got 5 numbers right and you missed the Moneyball. How big of a kick in the day? I know it's $1 million, but you were that close to $1 billion.
I need to make sure these weren't my numbers last night. Give me 1 second.
Well, it was in. Were you in L.A. or?
No, but I'm just saying.
What I see.
How about some laughs?
Everybody stops and they're staring at me. I got passion in my pants and I ain't afraid to show it.
So yeah, I'm okay now. I mean, they do have. This is fucked up. I'm glad I didn't see this. They do have 3 of my numbers, and who won the Powerball last night.
And you play your numbers every time.
Every time,
no easy pick.
But they do not have. I did not hit the Powerball, but I hit 3. I hit 3.
What's that good for?
That's not much. Yeah, but
to bore people with.
No, I'm just glad
I hit 3 numbers last night.
No, because that's why I play. I don't play to win. I play for peace of mind mostly when I play because I don't even want to know if the numbers have ever hit because then you couldn't live with yourself.
You can't know.
Yeah, and no, but for me, flat out. I mean, I got a very detailed plan. It would involve first of all, I'd buy the Lansing State Journal, and I would do it right, and I would show people how to do a mid-sized news organization in a market like this that actually worked, and people could choose to follow or not, but I would show it could work, and at that point, if you didn't want to follow, you're a moron. I would start a true Lansing promise where put a $250 million endowment that created every kid in Lansing went to school for free. I'd invest a lot in the city, and then, of course, I'd buy some fun toys and vacation a lot. I'd go to a lot of Premier League soccer games and things like that. But I would put a lot into this community. Here's
another question. Now, what if it's sold? Now, we live out in Ovid, so it's small town, and I was like, went up to the Valero, got a couple, thinking, small towns usually win. But what if you buy a ticket from there and someone wins, but it isn't you from that gas station? How do you live with that for the rest of your life?
Tough.
It's
tough.
We were this close to being billionaires. You tell that story all the time. Tyler Simmons next. July topic. Can you rank Big Ten football stadiums in order from the worst to best?
I'm not a good person for this, and I'll tell you why. I like stadiums for different reasons than other people do. It's about the vibe. It's about the feel. I like stadiums you can get your hands around where you have good experiences. Like, I really like Ross-Ade Stadium at Purdue. I think it's a great – most people would rank that near the bottom. But I think it's a cool place to hang. It's easy to walk around. They treat you really well there. You can drink there, for one. I just think it's a great place to watch a college football game, and most people would rank that stadium near the bottom. I love Kinnick Stadium at Iowa. I don't love Camp Randall as much as other people. It's fine. Ohio State's big stadium, cool looking stadium, it's fine. The Big House, it's expansive as you go out. It's fine. I like Spartan Stadium other than the way the upper decks. If you're in the lower deck in Spartan Stadium, great place, has the troughs, which are important for any great stadium. But Kinnick would probably be number one for me. I mean, I like Penn State well enough, but I like smaller stadiums that are fun experiences. I like Indiana. I like Purdue. Those are places that I don't mind. Rutgers in Maryland, even though I wouldn't call them good stadiums. So I'm not the right person to rank this because I did a ranking of these ones times, and they were based on a number of things, and I don't even remember the ranking anymore, but did it for the LSJ like 5-6 years ago. But
so who would be good at it? Like Ebling? He goes to every single one, doesn't he?
Well, I think the thing is you want to rank a number of things, not just like you want to rank experience. You want to have separate rankings for like sort of the aesthetic value.
Sounds
seats.
like a July column for next year.
Well, maybe it is.
Professor, next, if you couldn't work in media again, what job would you have?
I'd be mayor of Lansing, or a community college athletic director, maybe. No, I don't know.
So you'd be divorced, right?
Yeah, I'd be like a high school tennis coach, and I'd run some recreation. I don't know. It's a good question. I'd be a stay-at-home not dad. I don't know. I don't know what. I wouldn't try my hand at professional gambling. I know I couldn't do that.
Well, you could try.
I'd want to be somewhere where I like customer service. I could do that. How about you?
Oh God, I don't have any skills. I have no idea. Is this media that I work in, or
yeah?
Is this working?
Well,
I mean, I kind of have, but yeah, I don't know. Gas station. Jarrett, next. Would you rather have Justin Tucker or Josh Jacobs on your team? Tucker. Right now, I mean, Jacobs is a beast, but if you have an offensive line like the Lions have, I mean, David Montgomery, he's going to put up numbers this year. I mean, how many games are you going to lose with a shitty field goal kicker if you know that you have an automatic guy from 55 in? I'm sorry. I know the running backs are getting screwed, but why are they so surprised by it?
Yeah, no, they're replaceable. They're just the difference between the top guys for the most part and the guys you can find isn't that much.
I was listening to Valenti and Rico yesterday, and Valenti went down the last 10 Super Bowl winners and the salary of the running back, and it was crazy. Like the highest paid was $2 million, and everybody else was under like $1 million.
And they're upset, but you know who never gets up? The left guard's been screwed for years. There's values change in sports, and they were probably overvalued for a while, and there have been a few. Somebody pointed out it was Mike Shanahan was probably the beginning of this because I think it was the SI podcast with Jimmy Traina, and they were talking about how the basically when Terrell Davis got hurt and they brought in was it Orlando Gary or whatever his name was in 1,100 yards.
Wow.
But like
Orlandis
Gary, like right away it was like next guy rushed for 1,200 yards, and it was
Mike Anderson or something. Yeah.
Right. It was the value. It started to become clear that the value they'd been overvalued. Now there are certain guys. And I think Barry Sanders, if he still showed up today, would be worth it.
1,000%, but you have to figure out a pay structure for just the running backs by themselves. You can't keep franchise tagging a running back and keeping him for a low salary, right? I'm not saying the running back position is dead, but these guys have to understand you're not going to be getting these massive quarterback contracts. I think Austin Eckler thinks he's going to get paid $30 million a year. It's just not going to happen.
And your best years are your first contract when you're not making anything. They ought to create some sort of, they ought to have a separate union for running backs, probably separate for that sort of.
Right. I mean, do you really blame the owners for this? I mean, that's the way they've been. You can do it,
and you could
win championships that way.
You could create an incentive-based deal out of some sort of pot that wasn't part of the. As long as there's a salary cap, they're not going to do that much of them.
Yeah, but running backs are still going to bitch about that. Like, oh, we have to do all these incentive things.
Then play a different position. You know what? Yeah. There are a lot of jobs in this world that don't get the value of what of their importance. They're a really good teacher is more important than Saquon Barkley, and they ain't making shit.
Jarrett, next. At what point in the season should I believe the Lions will be good? Well, I think on the road at Kansas City for the first game.
If they do well there,
I mean, if they don't lose 43-0, you know what I mean? Like one of those kind of letdown games where the momentum is building up for this one game and then we shit the bed. If that happens, then it could be, oh boy, I know it's the first game, but you know what I mean.
If that's a competitive game, I think it'll and that's one of the – I mean, the game kind of sucks in a sense that it's a hard game to win right out of the chute. But the flip side of that is it is a game that you don't have to win to feel okay about things.
Sure. Yeah. You just don't get blown out, but show that you belong in Kansas City to play against them. Ethan Charmella, if starting a team in their MSU version, would you rather have Peyton Thorne or Brian Lewerke? Wow.
I'd probably go with Thorne. I mean, both of these guys' careers were our last memory of them were based on guys not being 100%. I think Thorne at his best is a more accurate passer than Lewerke was, and so I would go with Thorne. That would be my play. But that's a good question.
Ethan with this one. After Trey Mosley, who's your best guess at MSU's second leading receiver?
Terrell Henry, Montori Foster, Antonio Gates. I think if you're Michigan State, you kind of want it to be somebody like Gates that really emerges, just sort of a big-time talent, more than Foster, who's probably a steady player. So if it's Gates, that's good.
Next one from Ethan. By the end of their careers, which former number one recruit in their class is the better player? Gia Tiote or Van Sumeren?
Go with Van Sumeren. Yeah. Neither one, though, is sort of, I don't think, lived up to it. But yeah.
Richard Kane, which will be the first school to accept money from the Saudi PIF?
This is a great, like if I were a mid-major without a great academic reputation, I'm like, you know what? Let's let the Saudis in.
So Colorado, like Dion?
Well, that's a Pac-12 school with a good academic. I'm talking about a school that, like, has a, if he just sort of middling, we let a lot of people in anyway. Nobody's talking about our academic integrity as it is or anything. Let's play big-time sports here.
And Lane Kiffin will be the coach?
You know what I would do? Rutgers. No, they got a good academic school, but if I were Rutgers, I'd let them in.
But you can still be good economically, but you could still, when you get handed that much money, that can alleviate a lot of problems for a university no matter what.
And it'll probably happen in the SEC if it were ever to happen because, it truly places where money comes over all sorts of, people just don't have, they don't care about being good people if it lets them win in the SEC more than any other place. If you listen to Tennessee fans, they would not have hated Jeremy Pruitt if he had won, no matter what. And they're not kidding when they talk about the SEC and it just means more. Like that whole dynamic down there, I don't think it's healthy, but I'm not saying the Saudi government's ever going to get involved with college athletics, but if it were to happen to me, it's going to be in the South, the Southeast, Texas, and maybe it's an SEC school or not, but it's going to be some place where college athletics are just king over religion and everything else.
Ken Chu next. Wouldn't it be easier if those drug commercials just said this stuff is just as likely to kill you as it is to help you?
Which drug commercial? Oh, I just
instead
of
mentioning
drug?
the may cause diarrhea, brain bleeding, and
right,
you might shit your pants.
It is true that most drug commercials leave me saying, I'm definitely not taking that. Right?
Well, they have to throw it out there because of lawyers, right?
Right. But I'm just saying, like, what's the point of advertising if you may give me, you may help me get an erection, but the flip side of that is I may have diarrhea while I'm having sex. Like, it doesn't help.
Your arm's going to fall off.
Yeah, right.
It might be worth it. Spartan, 18770. You are on an aircraft carrier for a week. Who would you bunk with? A, Hondo Carpenter, or B, Chad Latz?
What are you doing here?
Come on. Chad Latz. Although Hondo would probably fall off at like the first day or so. So you'd be rid of him.
Right.
But Latz would be good for the entertainment value. Hondo he'll tell you endless stories about shit.
I would probably choose Chad as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know Chad, so that's the other reason I would probably choose Chad.
The crack stories alone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Spartan, how many times can you bench press 225 pounds today? How many donuts can you eat in one sitting now?
A couple things. One, I don't know. I have not tried to bench 225 in a while. Just based on my push-up amount, I'm guessing I could do like 5 or 6 of them what do we do, 12 when we did them in 2018?
Well, you have short arms. So
yeah, I do have short arms. It helps.
Technically, you're doing 1 if you're doing 5.
How many donuts could I eat sitting right now? It depends on the type of donuts. Groovy donuts, which are incredible, cake-based, made with love, and but they're also there's a little more to them. I would say I could still do as many as I ever could. And, last time we had a clock on me. That was not just a sitting. That was 10 and 9 minutes or whatever I was trying to do. If you just say one sitting, what is a sitting? An hour? Like a meal?
All day.
Baker's
dozen.
I could eat 20 donuts without. I wouldn't feel good, but I could eat 20 donuts. I could eat 30 like Krispy Kreme crap or Quality Dairy less than or whatever. But not that anything wrong with Quality Dairy. It's just not groovy donuts. Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my. By the way, if you want to try that for yourself and you need a 2 dozen donuts or whatever, call ahead. Because Andrew and Monica will put together a selection of donuts that are a little lighter for you. And so if you're looking to do that, or if you just want to have a great donut, go to groovydonuts.com or swing by either location in Lake Lansing Road or in Williamson. And if you've got a party planned this August or you're starting to think about back-to-school stuff in the fall, which is the peak donut time, start to think about activities you may want a donut with. Camping trip, take a dozen donuts. Gathering in the backyard, everything's better with a dozen donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com.
Next one from Spartan. How many of the media will be drunk during the MSU-CMU game? Not enough.
And the other thing people need to realize is there might not be alcohol this fall at Spartan Stadium. There were some headlines yesterday that led people to believe that that's happening right away. There will be alcohol at MSU football games at some point. And I would guess within this year at basketball and hockey and things like that. But whether the stadium is set up, there's not a lot of lead-in. You got 6 weeks to put together a plan. Now, they knew it might happen, so maybe some of that's been in the works. But I would say 50-50 at best that there will be alcohol this week.
How long do you need to set up a plan, though?
Oh, well, you may want family sections. When you sell tickets, you may want certain areas.
That can come with time. Just figure out how to get the booze in the stadium.
But it's also that, there are certain vendors that you have to find a place for those vendors, and you have to those contracts, and what do you want to sell? And
until then, you can bring booze into Spartan Stadium yourself then, right? In your pocket.
People have been doing that for years.
There's 6 weeks left. Come on. That's not enough time to figure out a plan? I don't know. Eastlake, Chris Eastlake, do you think there are too many neutral site basketball games? I'm cool with the Champions Classic, but Baylor would be much more awesome at Breslin, and Baylor needs to earn Graham's AP vote by playing a road game.
MSU still doesn't. Everybody's talking about, here's the other thing, everybody's talking about any time, any place, Izzo. I saw that a lot with this schedule. Except a true road game. MSU is playing Arizona and Palm Desert. MSU is playing Duke in Chicago. MSU is playing Baylor in Detroit. There is no difficult environment yet. And to me, to get an AP vote, you have to play at least one road game after the first month. And so MSU doesn't have that yet on the schedule. But, yeah, no, I much prefer. College basketball is made by student sections and environments. I much prefer you get rid of a lot of these neutral site games. And I understand the NCAA tournaments at neutral sites, but the regular season is made by, to me, and I don't mind a few Champions Classics or whatnot, but if I would rather that game be at Breslin, and I would rather there be a return game at Baylor.
Next one from Eastlake. What unit do you think will be the most improved this year for MSU football? I say the secondary.
I think it'll be the offensive line, if I had to guess a unit, just because they went from not a ton of healthy guys, not a ton of experience, to a lot of guys. Just sheer numbers of available dudes is about 18, unless there have been more injuries over the summer or whatnot. There's got to be a decent line in there, right? I think that's the line that the group that we'll see. The secondary would help, though, and I do think there's reason to think that could be it. We'll see what sort of player like a Darius Snow is. We'll see if they have, they were over-reliant on Xavier Henderson last year, if they've gotten over that. But I think the secondary or offensive line are the best two guesses.
Last one from Chris. Will Shohei Ohtani be traded?
What would you do if you were the Angels?
I would do anything I could to try to keep him. I just don't think you can be – who are you going to trade him to as well, right? You can't really trade him to another West Coast team. I just think you have to just take it, right? I mean, I don't know unless they call with some insane offer. I just don't see what team would pay that much in possible minor league guys or draft picks like that for Ohtani, who might not re-sign with you, right?
It's tricky because the other thing I've heard from things I've read and listened to is that, like, the West Coast is probably where he's going to wind up. It's closer to Japan. He's more likely to, like, he doesn't have interest in New York or Boston or anything like that. So you're in a market where he's more likely to sign on that coast anyway. It's going to be, like, I've heard, like $600 million, $700 million contract. There is no, salary cap. So
but you have to. I mean, the Angels, you can't feel bad for them. I mean, they've had Trout for how long?
No, they've screwed this up.
They've screwed this up. Time. But I think I would just desperately try to do anything I could to kiss his ass in hopes that he comes back. Do you really want to be the guy that traded Shohei Ohtani? I don't know. I
mean, I understand the idea that because they've had Trout and now Ohtani, that you're trying never to rebuild, and so that stops you maybe from ever bottoming out or what. But in baseball, where you can buy so much and you can develop a good farm system without having the top pick overall and things like that, there's really no excuse for them to be where they are.
And Ohtani's don't, like, drop out of the sky, and especially like guys like Trout, but especially Ohtani's don't fall out of the sky. So you might as well just overspend and then have your team be a shit for a decade or something rather than just bow out of it.
He's like a plus 12 WAR. I mean, he's setting records there. Like, wins over replacement, he is like as good as there's ever been.
Yeah.
And so he is worth it. And I would not trade him, and I actually don't think he will be traded.
And with the Japanese market, I mean, I know it's 600, 700 million. You're going to make your money back, though. David Jackson next. Is an East Lansing game with Miami scheduled to replace the canceled 2020 game? If not, why did we go to Miami in 2021? We'd have made more with a home game versus Eastern Michigan.
Lots of things got canceled because of the pandemic and won't be made up all over the place, and that's just the way it is. It's not, I mean, the next people fulfilled contracts. Give me 1 second. I wanted to check one note I had. I had asked somebody about this at one point, but I don't think Miami was. I mean, Miami's not listed on a schedule, and I can't find it real quick. But I don't think Miami is part of the plan.
Next one from David. Based on what you've seen, how well should MSU's bigs fare versus Zach Edey? Helpless and hopeless again?
That's it. No, I think it'll be better because I think that, first of all, they'll know what they're up against. A guy like Mati Sissoko has put on some weight. He'll have a better feel, so he should be, even if it's just incrementally better, slightly better. And I think the guy that is put on some strength and should be a little more equipped is Carson Cooper, and he may be the best answer. The other thing I think is you've got more capable centers who are worth the fouls if you need it to, and he's a good free throw shooter. I'm not saying you're intentionally fouling him, but you should be in a place where you just throw guys at him and see if one guy on a given day is to me, letting him get 30 points is not the problem. If you can, I would be more inclined to play him straight up until maybe final key possessions and take away shooters than try to double team him unless you're really successful with it early.
Next one from David. Does Baylor lose a lot off of last year's team? Shouldn't MSU be a solid favorite today for the game at Little Caesars Arena? If you only knew a bookmaker to talk about this game. Yeah, no. Harry, is that who he's talking?
I do believe they've lost a little bit. I don't know. I haven't done research on their team though. It will be a heavy Michigan State crowd. Obviously, they should be a favorite, but I don't know the specifics of it. But do look forward to betting it. Well, actually, I wouldn't bet it, but to talking about it and talking about the line at the on the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app.
Graham's not going to be gambling on it.
Well, I was trying to do a live read for Firekeepers, and I fucked up by it was a bad transition.
But it's not like you're Herb Street where you have to make it be known I can't pick this game because I'm doing it later.
Well, I'll pick the game. I just won't actually bet on it myself. Yeah.
Next one from David. Did Graham translate my French dialogue? Posted it in a reply to the picture he posted in Paris.
I don't think I did.
I'm guessing you didn't because he's asking the question.
Yeah, I use Google Translate a lot over there, which is, by the way, the way you can do it now with the app is you can hit, you can have it speak to a cab driver or somebody for you. Like, it'll say it out loud. It was really helpful. We used a lot of that when I had asked for more than cheese in the toilet. So and things like that. It was fun to be in a country where you have to rely a little bit on another language. You start to pick little things up, and
but you don't have to talk to anyone.
It's also
That'd be
great.
the best part. Like, I'm sorry, I don't speak.
And the wine is fantastic. Like, no hangover wine is the best. It's the best.
They don't sell that here?
They put something else in it, and somebody, I forget,
Boone's
one
Farm?
of our listeners was bringing up, they put some sort of, whatever it is, chemical here. Maybe it's for to make it last longer, whatever. But it's different there. Yeah, it's different. Like, I had more wine than I've had in a long time there, and I felt fantastic the next day.
Mr. Neurotic, regarding coaches as bunkmates, who do you think was more flatulent, and what do they say in their sleep?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know their diets for the particular day, but you always go with the older guy when you're thinking about more farts. But it is interesting that, Izzo didn't bring any earplugs or anything, headphones, and Tucker was ready for it. What an interesting experience. So I don't know how those guys sleep generally when, like, 5 feet above their heads, planes are landing till 2:30 in the morning. That's crazy.
Next one from Neurotic. Serious question. Where do recruits stay during official visits?
They use, I don't know specifically on everything, but they use Kellogg for things for families, and they'll have hosts that are certain players, but I don't think it's like the old days where you're in their dorm room anymore. But maybe there's still some of that stuff. But I think Kellogg is the place they use for a lot, and I'm not sure if they've branched off or how much dorm stuff they're using as student housing and whatnot.
Next one from Neurotic. Jason, do you ever get invited to appear on other podcasts like media maven Graham? No, for what? What would a podcast need me on for?
I would want you on a podcast. I'd want to.
That's fine. Yeah, I could have story. But if it's like another Michigan State, they want to hear from Graham because he goes to the games. I'm just a fan guy. So
none of the prison podcasts have reached out in that genre.
I would definitely. I would go on. It was jail. It was county jail, so I'd be a letdown guest, I think. But I would be more than happy. It's just no one ever asked me. Brian Mahoney, what's your favorite nicknames in sports? Either athletes like the Microwave, or if you have a stadium nickname you like Death Valley in Baton Rouge.
You have a favorite nickname?
Man, off the top of my head, I don't. Give me some. Give me one.
Yeah,
Pop one off.
I was trying to think of somebody that I really love, and it's all blank. I apologize. I should have been.
See, Graham puts these in here. I
know.
I
and
should
as
go
soon as I saw it, I was
read
like,
them.
yeah, and then there's pressure. And you don't think of what. Well,
Vinny Johnson. That was a great one. The Microwave, but yeah.
O.J. Simpson was good. The Juice. That was a good one. That was
until he murdered two people.
Yeah,
but
didn't work out in the long run.
Is that really a good nickname though? The Juice. Because he's.
I'm just
OJ.
trying to buy time to think about something else. I can think about O.J.
I could play some Chad Lass.
Yeah. No. Magic is one of the great nicknames of all time, right?
I guess.
But when it becomes your first name.
Right. But I'm so used to it. It's just like Magic. It's like his real name to me.
Yeah. The Woodshed is not one of them. I'll say it's not real.
Chopping.
Yeah, not real. It's a great question.
Maravich, the Pistol.
That's good.
Can't do that anymore. But back in the 70s when he was the Pistol. 60s.
Yeah. No, I like. Yeah. No, I wish we had better answers for you. I'm just sort of blanking on. What I would say.
I'll give you Graham's number. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
Next one from Brian. What is your favorite coach press conference or interview meltdown? Mine is Gundy. I'm a man. I'm 40. I think I got it here. Hold on.
Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about guys that don't do things right and downgrade them, the ones that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
It's great. I think
his hair was so much different back then. Now he's just got like a helmet head hair.
I think to me it's they are who they thought they were. Dennis Green's with the Bears is one of my favorite meltdowns.
Or playoffs.
Yeah, that's
because I think they played that all the time back then, right? Him and Dennis Green, they're played ad nauseum.
I mean, John L. Smith is pretty good. You know, the players are playing their asses off. The coach are screwing it up. Ah!
Is that considered I mean, that was what? Was that halftime? Or?
Yeah, halftime speech.
So either way.
But I think Dennis Green's, they are who we thought they were, is pretty up there.
Ghost of George Perlis next. Any chance that the NCAA head football coach line violation gets any further updates, or does that just quietly go away like a point guard crashing a car of the athletic director's wife's car in downtown Ann Arbor at 3 a.m.?
The coach line violation, that's the Harbaugh stuff. I'm guessing it's minimal. There's not a whole lot there. And it's a line violation, right? If it was anybody but Harbaugh, nobody would give a shit.
Ghost of George Perlis. After week 6 of the MSU football season, will anyone be talking about Keon Coleman or Peyton Thorne in any capacity?
If they are, it's a problem. There's no doubt about that. If you're still talking about, boy, they don't have that guy at receiver. They're really hurt there. Or
so
they don't
you have to root
quarterback.
for them to suck.
No, you need Michigan. You want to root for Michigan State's guys at those positions to fill those roles. If they've got receivers who are capable, if they've got a quarterback who's playing well, then nobody cares.
But deep down, you got to root for them to suck. Right. Ghost of George Perlis. Will Rube cave in and become a dad or a Graham? That shit happens. No.
It's not going to happen for Jason.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't even know if everything works down there still or whatever. I'll get a vasectomy just to make sure. But, yeah, no kids.
Yeah, it could happen on my end, but, yeah, no promise.
Cucker, Tarleson. When will Wemby live up to the hype?
I mean, I think it'll be a little bit of time. He's just kind of an awkward dude who's going to be good in certain ways, and he's going to have to get stronger, and he's 19.
He'll never be able to. I mean,
unless he's like a top 5-7 player.
But I mean, even if he replicates Tim Duncan, I mean, like it'll be like, oh, okay. If he replicated Tim Duncan's career, everybody like, oh, he lived up to it. But that's what you have to do.
Yeah, no,
he's so crazy.
He's going to have to be like a dozen-year All-NBA guy to live up to the hype.
Couch on fire next. Instead of the Nasser comparison with the Bo Schembechler and Dr. Anderson situation, isn't a better comparative how Penn State and Joe Paterno and Sandusky was handled and covered? Two coaching icons, one hounded to his grave and the other given a free pass.
Well, I mean, one was already dead, right? And so I think that's the difference. And I wouldn't say it's a free pass entirely.
If Bo were still alive, yeah, he would be peppered, right?
Right. But there is no doubt that, like, there are, and I think that the idea that it was children with Sandusky changes the dynamic a little bit too. But I do think there are questions about whether anything over at Michigan should be named after Schembechler still. And that's, whether, and those are still, there are people who are battle those demons and that conversation over at Penn State still with Paterno in terms of how he should be remembered. And I don't think one was a completely free pass. Now, at the time, nobody knew. So, yeah, free pass.
Couch on fire next. Jason, who do you like for the Open this weekend? Well, I like Spieth. I know he's somewhere on the leaderboard. I didn't sprinkle before on anybody because it's at a weird time in the morning, and I just figured I'd wait till after the second round. But I always root for Spieth, and we'll find out after the second round where we're going to go for the weekend. But I didn't sprinkle on anybody before the Open. Did you, Graham?
I did not. Nope.
Yeah. Couch on fire. Best July topic. I don't know. You're supposed to tell us. I mean, we don't really want to do research.
Why we have you here?
Yeah.
No, I would say it's lists of things. I would say it's what ifs. I would say it's would you rather this or that. It's hypotheticals. I think all of those things that make you think that are fun about the specific subject or team that people like are the best. I think anything that
I like the non-sports related stuff that we talk about more in July because it's more of just about getting through the July month.
About life's predicaments.
With a ton of vacation, a couple of weeks off, and then we do 2 shows. Dan Rakin, bazooka to the head. Would you rather have Miggy for 1 more year or Javi Baez for 2 more years, and then his deal is voided?
Bazooka time.
Give me Miggy's fat ass.
Yeah,
one more year.
One more year, maybe. Because here's the thing.
What does he have to play every day?
Right. And he's also at least a professional hitter, even if he's not a good one. Like last night, was it last night or recently, he had a big hit. 2 games ago, he had a huge hit. It was last night.
Yeah, he can still hit.
Yeah.
He just can't run anywhere.
No.
That's the problem.
And he wouldn't, it would. By the way, I was thinking of one that I used to like in terms of sports nicknames was the Fridge.
The Fridge was a good one.
A great nickname for a player, yeah.
Yeah. Next one from Dan. After the Jeff Smoker doc is done, can we get a full investigation into the Mario and Pemba and Rod Allen breakup? I missed them.
It was certainly an overreaction getting rid of them. There's no doubt about that.
I just think that they thought that they could get rid of them and find people that were either as good or better. And,
sometimes you just got to let people fight.
Instead of hiring nice guys that don't know when a home run's coming. DMB next. Looks like the Jeff Smoker ship has sailed. Can we get a where are they now with QBs from the D'Antonio era? Any idea what Maxwell, Cook, O'Connor, and Terry and Lewerke are doing? And what the hell happened with Joe Boister? Who the fuck is Joe Boister?
I actually don't. What are we doing? This is,
That's a good bit, though. Just throw a random name. What happened to that guy?
I think some of these guys are too recent for people really to be.
I disagree. People love that shit, no matter what year, when they're gone.
Boister was, God, I'm trying to remember exactly, but he was a quarterback. I don't think he was even still around when I started covering the team, but he was long time ago. Never really.
He's still alive. I mean, yeah. By the way, Wayne Fonts is still alive. Someone asked me yesterday, and I'm like, "Oh no, he died."
Yeah, kind of like.
They're like, "He did?" I'm like, "I think so."
Like Dave Bergman.
Yeah, sorry, Wayno. Ben Jen, who is the MSU basketball player who most looked like God but never quite played like one? Marquise Gray.
That's a good one. Aloysius Anaganye, maybe. Looked like he had the.
He was a beast.
Jesse Hall was a guy going way back, like to my earliest youth, who was supposed to be a stud, but Steve Smith wound up being the guy.
Joe Boister.
Apparently so. Yeah.
Ben Jen, opposite Max Bullock question. Why didn't he, or what didn't he do? Excuse me. You recently said some things were proven not true. What were they?
There were no executions. Yeah.
Thought you were going to get away with saying that. No one was going to catch it.
No armed robbery. Yeah. Nothing like that. But I would love to sit down with Max at some point, and
hasn't enough time elapsed?
Yes, it should be.
You know
done.
what I mean? Like, is it that big of a deal anymore?
It's been 10 years. It should absolutely be done.
Right. Ben Jen, the new cricket league. How do I bet it?
Well, first of all, you download the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and they do have a lot of sports there. Now, whether they have the new cricket league, I don't know. You might need a guy and some offshore stuff. But there are places that will have it. But for most of what we do here, it'll always be available on the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app.
Dark Mantonio, will the way the NFL treats running backs deter elite high school players with pro aspirations from playing that position altogether?
I don't think so, because at a certain age, it's still a glory position. It's still a star position. It's a position you get the ball. People like it.
And something's going to happen with the pay scale for the running backs,
but
right?
it's still not a bad living. Obviously it's a car crash on every play, and you get beat up and all that stuff. But it's still there's an opportunity to make money that you can't make a lot of other ways. But
at what cost, though?
I think NIL still helps. Like the running back is still a star in college, and you can make several $100,000 before. And if you're lucky enough to get to the pros, you can still make. Over the course of even if it's a 5-6 year career, millions of dollars that you can't make in other ways in life. And I'll give you an example of why I don't think people will be deterred. Take Darian Harris, for example, who's got a good life, just got married, got a young daughter, great deal going on at Michigan State, important person in that program. But he will tell you that his best position was running back, and he played linebacker, and he was a fringe pro who didn't quite make it in the NFL. Cup of tea in the NFL. But the year that they gave Riley Bulla the running back job, when they didn't have a running back at the beginning of the year, that should have been Darian Harris. And Harris still believes if he had been that guy, who knows, that was his best position, that he might have been an NFL guy at that position. and he wasn't a linebacker. You can't often choose what you are as an NFL athlete, too. I mean, certain guys, they make more at left tackle than they do at left guard. But if you don't have long enough arms and quick enough feet in a certain way, you don't get to be the left tackle. So some of it's just determined for you.
Well, what about the younger kids that are 12 and 13 that see that and go, well, I guess I'm going to be like a Deebo Samuel then. I don't want to be just strictly a running back.
There might be more guys who want to be wideouts, sure. Right. But ultimately, young kids want the ball in their hands, and that's the best way to get the ball in your hand when you're in high school.
I just think they're going to come up with some sort of plan. They're not just going to let running backs just pop off about how shitty it is. Dark Mantonio. Why did porn from years ago always feature some kind of storyline? Pool guy, pizza delivery. It's not a Hollywood blockbuster. Pretty sure those watching would rather them just get down to business.
Some people like the story. They got to be fluffed a little bit. They want the fantasy.
Well, when we were younger, we would have to sit through that shit because they're really if we were watching Skinamax or HBO late night, like you had to. There was no fast forward. Obviously, VHS you could. But there still was so much.
That's why romance novels exist, because and do well because people want the actual story.
Porn acting was even worse than those novels. Sometimes it was just like, what are you?
Yeah,
you're doing porn. Like, what are we doing here? Dark Mantonio, Jason, do you produce all the commercials that feature your voice? I don't. Alex Heward does that.
I mean, you do the voice.
I do the voice. I record that and I leave it here on the desktop, and I let Alex do it because he knows what he's doing, pretty much. Dark Mantonio. Okay, this is a really good question. If a normal human being had to step into a live Major League Baseball game, which would be harder, getting a solid base hit off an average pitcher or striking out an average batter? Remember, foul balls count.
Well, they always say, like, hitting a Major League curveball or fastball is the hardest thing to do in sport. So, like, to me, I would count on that the Major League hitter had never seen a pitch as slow as me. I mean, like, they would be so far out ahead of my 64-mile-an-hour fastball that it would be like, whoa, wait a second. What the hell is that?
The first pitch is going at their head, so they're not going to be, like, stepping in there.
I would think I would have a better chance. I mean, you can make two arguments here. One is, I think I would have a better chance, very unlikely, of striking out an average batter. The flip side of that is, if I just swung at I don't know.
Yeah, but see, I would just go full Javi Baez and just close my eyes and swing at three and maybe hope I get one. I'm not striking. I mean, getting it over the plate off a Major League mound, like, no, I'm not doing that. Right?
Yeah.
You really think you can get it over the plate
I
times?
I could get over better than hitting we're talking about small odds either way here. Hitting a Major League pitcher?
Yeah.
But
I'm saying if you were over at Lugnuts here and you were on the mound, you think you'd get 4 over the plate?
I would have a better chance in some ways of hitting a Major League pitcher than I would a high school pitcher, and I'll tell you for this reason. I trust that the Major League pitcher isn't going to hit me. The high school pitcher, still throwing 85, hits me, and I don't trust that kid. I don't want that kid throwing at me. Whereas a pro, at least I'm like, I'm going to focus on the fucking strike zone here because I trust they're not going to hit me in the thigh or the rib cage or anything.
Tyrone Couch, next. I'm in Vancouver. Where are the groovy donuts? I mean, Tim Hortons is better than Dunkin', but I need some good stuff. What should I experience here? I need advice.
I've never been to Vancouver. Want to go badly. My wife has been a few times. You ever been to Vancouver?
I have not.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fantastic. I've been to Seattle. Thought about it within the last couple of years. At some point, need to go. So I can't help you out a lot. It's beautiful. There's a train, I think, that's amazing that goes from Seattle to Vancouver. If you get a chance to do that, that's especially I hear it's you want to do it in daylight if you can do it, but along the coast. But I don't know. And Groovy Donuts will be waiting for you when you get back. And for anybody who's not in Vancouver, again, groovydonuts.com. 2 locations, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also in Williamston.
Tyrone Couch. Did Graham bet on the Sunday Tigers game? I hope not. I did not go and should have clarified that for him ahead of time so he could bet Seattle. Go get him, Tigers.
I did not bet. We were traveling back from we were on a flight from London, and so did not bet that game. But would have not bet the Tigers. When they win the first 2 games of a series on the road against a team that's better than them, I'm not betting them for the 3rd game.
Smart. Last one from Tyrone. I've seen so many rent and mortgage-free people in Seattle and Vancouver that have been in a trance from their pipes. Not sure what they are smoking, but I think it may be some tender corned beef. I get that trance from corned beef. What food makes you like a junkie?
What makes you pizza for me? I just can't.
Oh, God, yeah. It's disgusting when pizza's, especially if you're hungry and there's some Sky Mint involved, yeah.
But if you wanted to kill me, meatballs would be it. Like meatballs and marinara sauce. Like if you gave me just a tray of them, I would eat myself to death. Like that part of your brain that prevents you from like to stop. I would as much as I love a groovy donut, if you put a vat of meatballs in front of me, I would eat to my death.
Good to know. Adam, which of these lions do we need to keep an eye on during training camp? Coyote Awoskika, Ifiatu Melifuanawu, and Ross Purserbacher, perhaps Halapulalitai Valaitai.
Are these real lions?
I know Valatatai is.
Jesus.
I know Ifatiu Melifananu is. Ross, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Coyote.
Keep an eye on the guy that you know.
Yeah.
I've heard of.
Hans Jurgen. Has Jackson Kohler's vertical improved? Mine hasn't. We kind of have a rebounding tradition. And from plays with cars. Can Jackson Kohler dunk? Have you ever seen him dunk in a game or competitive practice?
I've seen him dunk in Moneyball. He can dunk. I saw him dunk at the Moneyball that I wrote the column off him. And so, yes, he can dunk.
Maybe Cohen Carr's bringing that out of him, you know?
Well, I think he's lost a little bit of weight. And, I mean, he's a layup guy. He's a below-the-rim player, but he can actually dunk.
Isn't that annoying, though? I mean, come on, dunk the ball, man. Like, I know under the rim is where you're going to make money, but don't you want to – if I was that height, I'd be dunking all the time.
Well, I don't think he's like a two-hand throw-down guy, over people type guy. That's not his strength.
Either way, just want to dunk. Hans Jurgen. When are you going to interview Jeff Smoker, you insufferable bastard?
Working on it. Thanks, Hans.
Jurgen, pound for pound. Athens, Ohio, or Miami of Ohio?
Miami, Ohio is in Oxford. Athens, as much as I love all the bars, give me Oxford, Ohio. It's a great college town.
Holland or Grand Haven?
Got married in Holland, like Grand Haven, but I got to go with the place I got married.
Muskegon or Saginaw?
In-laws live in Muskegon. There's Lake Michigan there. Give me Muskegon.
Wyoming or Colorado?
Cody Tucker's in Wyoming, but I like Colorado.
Dildos or vibrators?
Where are you on this one?
I don't know. Whatever makes the wife happy. I don't give a shit. Dildo, vibrator, chainsaw, whatever the fuck it takes. Grand Rapids or Wichita?
Everybody wants to say Grand Rapids, but as a Kalamazoo guy, and I love Grand Rapids too, we had a little rivalry with Grand Rapids. And Wichita is, from what I understand, a cool town. Had one of the best collection of beats at a newspaper I ever applied for, and I wish I had worked there. I'm going to go Wichita. Just throw a wrinkle in.
I love that you go dildos, vibrators. What do you got? What do you got on that? I don't want to answer this. Steve, is this Luka Doncic, by the way? The next one, Steve Nash or Luka
Modric?
Modric, is that a real person or Doncic?
Yeah, no, I think Modric is Modric's real.
Oh, I'm sure there's a person named Luka Modric. I'm just sometimes you do.
No, Luka Modric is a soccer player. He's not a basketball player. That's why you don't know. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. No, Luka is Croatian, I believe. Croatian national team. Real Madrid, if I'm correct.
Better Prime Minister.
By the way, I go Luka Modric.
Better Prime Minister Lord Palmerston or Pitt the Elder?
I don't have enough knowledge, and I don't want to say one guy who killed his family, so I'm going to resist.
Yeah, you don't want to get canceled.
Yeah.
British Museum or the Met?
Boy, I get museum feed at both. But I'm going to go with.
But
British
the Met
Museum.
is where all the celebrities go, right? Like, isn't that kind of
depends on the British Museum? There are a number of them, but give me Britain.
All right. Smelt or sardines?
Give me sardines.
Hans Jurgen, does the LSJ know you give a forum to my perversities? Many of the images and I conjure with my questions and hot takes are disturbing.
They do not know. This whole show would get shut down if anybody listened to your questions.
That's why I got dildos or vibrators.
Right.
Jason, which one are you picking? Huh? Jake Hawkins, what's your take on the New York Times gutting their sports writing department and leaving all the work to The Athletic? Aren't you scared even a little bit about the future of your job and sports journalism in general?
I've stopped being worried about this. If it ever goes away, it goes away. But I'm at a job that I cover Michigan State in the market where Michigan State is, and that's helpful in terms of so. In other words, I'm not saying the job couldn't go away, but I don't worry about that stuff and haven't for a long time because it'll drive you nuts if you do. And
well, someone has to cover a team, no matter if some of these places close, right? I mean,
right. And the New York Times the New York Times should not have bought The Athletic. They should have just invested. It would cost them a lot less to invest in their own sports department and put together the type of thing they're actually going to have from The Athletic than paying $500 million for The Athletic. And I do worry about the Athletic and where it's going because they've gone away from what I think was their purpose and mission. And anytime you lose your purpose, which was to cover local teams with great writers, and I think that becomes nerve-wracking, and I don't know what the future is.
Next one from the Hawk, with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs not getting paid, what's the future of the running back position? What could be a possible solution to getting these guys paid?
I don't think there is a solution, and I don't think they should. I mean, your value is what your value is. The market sets what the market is, and
well, no franchise tags, and like you said, incentive based.
I mean,
I think that they could have some more incentives put into their contracts to where they could make a contract.
What about
better?
What about the top doubles players in the world? They're not making as much as Djokovic. Like, why aren't we worried about
not
them?
many people are watching doubles tennis, though. It's the NFL. Everyone's watching the NFL, and you want.
Okay,
but your favorite team, though, honestly, looking at the past 10 Super Bowl winners, do you want a guy like Saquon Barkley, though? I don't think you need a guy like that to win a Super Bowl. So,
yeah.
Next one, Jake Hawkins. What position group and or players on the MSU football team have to stay the most healthy in order to get 6 or more wins?
Offensive line, for sure, especially with a team with this many other questions. Like we don't know which quarterback's better, so it doesn't really matter if one of those guys is healthy or not. The receivers, there's not a lot of – we don't know yet what's going to emerge. There seems to be depth there without a lot of high-end for sure. Running backs, number of guys. I think the position where to allow it all to work, they need to be good up front.
Next one from Jake. Great column on Trey Holloman. Do you think he'll eventually become the starting point guard at MSU down the road?
If he sticks around, he'll have a chance late in his career if Jeremy Fears is not here longer than him. Now, Jeremy Fears is also a 6-foot guard. Like, where's he going to go? Like, it's not easy just to be an NBA guy early at that height. So, but I think he'll be a starter at some point. And it was interesting to hear him say that they're playing him and Fears together. Could that be a backcourt a year from now, potentially for Michigan State?
Next one from Jake. Since I wound up cutting the cord, what are some good streaming TV services I could get when football season gets here? YouTube TV, others?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube TV, I think some people like. The problem, I love Peacock for a lot of reasons, and they'll have soccer and football on there. But if you want a streaming service that's going to be replacing cable, you're essentially paying the same thing anyway. YouTube will do it. We had Hulu for a long time and liked it. I think YouTube probably is the best selection of offerings, though.
But how much is Jake saving? That's what I would like to know. Maybe you can let us know.
Yeah, because cutting the cord, like if you cut the cord, but then also get the cable package to get all these games with YouTube and you don't save a ton of money. So
because we both tried it, I'm willing to, believe me, Hawk. But last one from Jake. How did you guys miss my 3 quick takes from earlier this week? I had some good ones.
I apologize. I don't know
what's
what happened.
with you, man.
I missed Dominic's early too. No, and I checked today. I checked Dominic's to make sure he didn't have any today because I got nervous about that. It's the way I do it too is I check the hashtag and then I just go down and I click the top tweet and then I go everything underneath it and somehow they weren't there. I don't know how I missed it. It's Elon, man. It's Elon.
Sorry, Jake. Upper Deck Jerk Guy, who is being slept on and will really show up for this MSU football team this year.
Somebody I brought up Antonio Gates Jr. earlier. He's a guy who slow start to his career, but who wasn't huge at the beginning? A guy like Keon Coleman. Like some of these guys who it takes a minute to figure it out but have loads of talent, that's somebody I want to see. Like I think there's a guy that from what I saw in high school has the potential. I don't know why he wasn't ready. I don't know why it was a tough adjustment for him. The question is, can he figure it out? Because I think there's a lot of talent there.
Next one from the Jerk Guy. Has Izzo changed the way he's recruiting, or does it just appear that way?
Well, I think it's a little. Some of it's circumstantial about who's in the region when they go after top guys who are, available. They've had more luck in Chicagoland of late, but Xavier Booker, Indianapolis, that's an area he's long done well. Jeremy Fears, within the area, I just think there's, and they've done a good job of lately going after the type of guys they want. But also getting high-end guys, which is a delicate mix. But I think, they're not afraid to go after some guys. They've done a better job in Chicago of late. And I just think the cachet of who he is continues to pay off late in his career, which has been impressive. Because in a lot of ways, he continues to outwork people. And I don't want to say outworked. Lots of guys work hard, but he is not slowed down in that. You know, what hurt Mark D'Antonio at the end is he and that staff seem to lose some steam on the recruiting front. You just haven't seen that from Izzo and his group.
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
Jerk guy, do you believe people are generally agathocacological? Agathocacological. Agathacac. I don't know.
It means composed of both good and evil. Oh, for sure. Well, evil's a tough word. I believe people are complex. Evil is tough. I don't know. There are a lot of good people who don't have evil in. Like, I wouldn't think, Jason, you are complex, but you do not have evil in you.
Sometimes, not all the time though. Last one from the jerk guy. Against what team with Cohen Carr's biggest highlight dunk come?
Should have been Will. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I should have proofread and caught that.
It's all right.
It's Purdue's who you want it. Purdue at home, through the legs, around the back,
over Edie,
on the fast break. People go nuts.
My head would explode.
7-point lead, seals the game in the final minute. Or he'll try to do something too fancy, he'll miss. Purdue comes down, hits a 3.
How dare you?
We appreciate all of you. Thanks for producing our show. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com or either location. And Lake Lansing Road, East Lansing, or Williamston. And we appreciate Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino. Download the Firekeepers iCasino app today. Bet the games we are betting. Thanks to Midtown Brewing Company as well. We will be back. We'll have to figure it out. We got some stuff this weekend with some wedding stuff, my travels, Big Ten Media Days next week. We'll be back middle of next week at some point. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.